course, it is our top story, so we're going to continue with it then. A police crime intelligence boss, Maj-Gen Dumisani Khumalo, and co-accused have been granted 10,000 rand bail in their fraud and corruption case. However, the CFO, Major General Philani Lushaba, has been remanded in custody as he has a pending case of corruption. Paul O'Sullivan, a forensic consultant and criminologist, joining us live now. Paul, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. Let's very quickly get your reaction to that bail hearing overall, and I suppose the sentiment around this matter and crime intelligence again in the news.
Well, I think these people knew that the net would be closing in on them. I personally spoke to accused number 7, which is Brigadier Makweli. I spoke to her in January and I asked her to explain how she got appointed at the age of 29 years, how she got parachuted into the Crime Intelligence Division at the rank of brigadier, when there are people there that have been serving for 30 or 35 years who haven't even achieved the rank of brigadier, and they must now report to this young lady who knows nothing about policing. And she told me I should speak to head office. So instead of speaking to head office, I spoke to IDAC, the minister, and the office for, the Office of the Inspector General for Intelligence. And I had several meetings with them in my offices, and we packaged everything up and we gave it to them. But the reality is that we have now 5 generals and 2 brigadiers that have been arrested within a 24-hour period and arraigned in court. Of the 7, 6 have been granted bail, in very small amounts, by the way. I can't believe that somebody can commit such serious crimes and only be granted bail of 10,000 rand. Of course, they would probably have to hand in their passports and report their movements to the investigating officer. Yeah. Now, the reality is they will have to stand trial, and my understanding is that the matter is trial ready. So we should see some action here, and hopefully it will re-establish the credibility of IDAC, or the the Investigative Directorate Against Corruption, and it should also establish the ability of the police to have new leadership in crime intelligence, because without a doubt, the current head of crime intelligence has been running crime intelligence in much the same way that Richard Ndluli did. Yeah. And he treated it as a family business. And that's exactly what Khumalo's been doing. He's been running it as a family business, to the extent where there was jobs for anybody that wanted them, and they weren't given jobs as constables or sergeants. They were parachuted in at high rank. And then you see people, for example, we've got all the evidence, going on a junket to Japan, which is nothing more than a holiday, supposed to be a drug trafficking conference. And the person that went, a major general who knows absolutely nothing about combating drug trafficking. So you end up with these square pegs in round holes. Yeah. So Paul, and that's what crime intelligence is. So instead of actually doing crime intelligence and finding out what criminals are up to, they've been running their own businesses. So Paul, what is it? Truly shocking.
What is it about this department, though, that has this notion? I mean, just what was it in 2022? When Khumalo was appointed, Fani Masemola, the then National Police Commissioner, had actually said that there are people who believe that there's a general sense of corruption within crime intelligence, and he refuted that claim. And one considers that, well, if you see it now, it still feels that way. You can't refute the claim by the looks of it. What's wrong with this department?
Unfortunately, General Masemola is not part of the solution. He's part of the problem. And what he now needs to do, these 7 individuals, okay, well, one of them's still sitting behind bars, but the other 6 need to be immediately suspended for them to go back to work. And I'm not going to mention names, but I know for a fact that 2 of them go with blue light convoys everywhere they go, with bodyguards and cars with blue lights, whether they're in a hurry or not. Everywhere they go, they run blue light convoys, and that is completely unacceptable. And that's at taxpayer expense, by the way. And then you've got all this going on. So I've approached Fani Masemola yesterday, and I've given him until Monday to announce publicly that he will be suspending all of them. And if he doesn't, Forensics for Justice will be taking him to High Court with an urgent application. It's time the police were cleaned up. At the end of the day, these people didn't even get themselves properly organised in order to bring a bail application.
Yeah.
So I think the magistrate mentioned that they were copying and pasting from one to another, and the result was there was insufficient information in front of the magistrate in order for the magistrate to be able to grant bail, which meant that they had to stand the matter down so that they could finish the work they should have done already. And I have no doubt that the lawyers involved are being paid with the proceeds of crime, because that's what these individuals have been living on.
What does this say then about just faith in intelligence, one, overall? And just with the comment you've just made, particularly with regards to the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, is this a role that now needs to be further investigated with regards to him, his ability to run this office?
Look, I've made it clear a long time ago that Fani Masemola is not fit for purpose. When he was appointed, I did an investigation, a thorough background checks on everybody that had been shortlisted for interview for the position of Chief of Police. And out of the list, I think there were 6 or 7 individuals. Out of that list of 6 or 7 individuals, there are only 2 of them that I was able to say would have been fit for purpose. The other 5 were not fit for purpose. And Fani Masemola was one of the other 5. And my findings in that regard were that he was living beyond his means. Now, if you have a person, a senior police official, who's living beyond his means, using what we call revolving door credit, he was borrowing from Peter to pay back Paul, and then borrowing from other people to pay back Peter. And this was going on in his life. And I looked at this and I analysed it and I saw, this guy's not fit for purpose. When I looked at his take-home pay, because that's really at the end of the day what you have to look at. And if you're a general in the police, you shouldn't have any other jobs. But his take-home pay was significantly lower than his monthly outgoings, which tells me right away that he's a problem. And of course, we all know about the Louis Vuitton bag that was given to him by a police supplier for his wife. So how he's still in his job, God above only knows. But I can tell you for certain, if he does not suspend these people, he won't be in his job much longer, because I'm going to bring a court application to have them suspended and to have him suspended as well. And I've made that known to him.
Yeah, it really is of absolute concern at this point then as well. Earlier we had been speaking about Khumalo also being named, his name cropped up actually in a policing scandal involving cocaine. It just feels as though this is something that continues to happen time and time again. Do you see any kind of respite from the situation if we get this case kind of solved, shall we say, where these people end up behind bars for any of their wrongdoing?
Well, look here, the reality of it is that Khumalo should have been gone already, a long time ago. There was enough within the police that the police knew about, and I know that they knew about it because I'd informed them about it. I had notified both Masemola and other deputy national commissioners as to what this man was up to. And he was protected species. Now, if you've got protected species who are criminals wearing police badges and police uniform, although he doesn't wear a uniform, when you've got people doing that, you're not setting a very good example for the men and women that work hard and put their lives on the line to protect South Africans. And the sad point is that those men and women are now getting fed up. I know quite a few of them. I spent a number of years in the police myself, and I know quite a few of these men and women, brave men and women, with hearts of like lions. And unfortunately, they're being led by donkeys. And those donkeys need to be removed. And what the police now need is proper management, not political appointments, proper management, with senior police officials that lead from the front and have high levels of ethics.
Paul O'Sullivan, appreciate your time this afternoon, forensic consultant and criminologist, joining us to unpack the matter that had come before the Pretoria Magistrates Court then this morning for Dumisani Khumalo, as well as his co-accused there, who had indeed been standing on corruption and other charges then. Crime Intelligence Division being rocked by yet another scandal.